Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know, we are covering the parliament, okay? And these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series, like the introduction part, like the organization of parliament, like the composition of two houses, like the system of elections to the Lok Sabha, like the duration of two houses, like the membership of parliament, like the presiding officers of parliament, like the leaders in parliament, like the sessions of parliament, devices of parliamentary proceedings, legislative procedure in parliament, the joint sitting of two houses, budget in parliament, multifunctional role of parliament, ineffectiveness of the parliamentary control, the position of Rajya Sabha, parliamentary privileges, and the sovereignty of the parliament. Okay, so these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion. And if we talk about the topics that we have covered so far, so we have done with the introduction, organization, composition, system, duration, membership, presiding officers, leaders, the sessions, and the devices of parliamentary proceedings. And if we talk about the topic on which we have been discussing, so basically we have been discussing on the legislative process in the parliament. And if we talk about the topics that we are left with, joint sitting of two houses, budget in parliament, multifunctional role of parliament, ineffectiveness of parliamentary control, the position of Rajya Sabha, parliamentary privileges, and the sovereignty of the parliament. Okay, so this is the picture that we have created so far. So basically, we will start from where we had left in the previous lecture. But before this, let us revise the several facts and figures. Okay, like in the previous lecture, when we had started the discussion over the financial bill. Okay, so basically, the one thing that we had discussed there was that the financial bills are the bills which deals with the revenue and expenditure of the government, right? The bills that deals with the revenue and expenditure, they are known as the financial bill. That what we have seen. The second thing that we had seen there was the types of bill. Okay, types of bill in the terms of finance. So basically, we know there are three types of financial bills. Okay, first is the money bill. Thereafter, the financial bill category 1, and then the financial bill category 2. Okay, and if we talk about the articles, the money bill comes under the article 110. The financial bill first comes under the article 1171, and the financial bill second comes under the article 1173. Okay, so these were the things that we had seen, and even we had seen the golden dialogue there that states all money bills are financial bills, but all financial bills are not money bills. Okay, so this is the golden statement that we had seen there, and what we have seen that money bills are considered as a financial bills. Why? Because the financial bills contains the revenue and the expenditure part, and the money bills deal with this. That's why they are considered as the financial bills. And what financial bills will be considered as a money bill? The bills that would contains the provision in the same manner as contained in Article 110. Okay, That is the things. So this is what we have seen in the previous lecture. And even if we talk about the money bill that we had discussed in the previous lecture, so we had seen that the money bill is known as the government bill. This could only be presented by the minister, finance minister, with the prior permission of the president of India. And the bill could only be produced in the Lok Sabha. Got it? And Rajya Sabha could not refuse the bill. Rajya Sabha only suggests the amendments but could not make them. And if the Rajya Sabha fails to respond to the bill within the 14 days of transmission, the bill would deem to have been passed. Okay, so let's start from where we had left in the previous lecture. Okay, so that is what we had seen. Okay, and if we move forward, so here we will see the ordinary bill versus the money bill. Okay, like we have seen, both of them having particular legislative procedure and defined meanings. Okay, they both having the particular legislative procedure and the defined meaning, so that's why they are separated from each other. So on what basis they got separated, now we are required to see them. So if we see the first case, ordinary bill, so it can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. Okay, this having the liberty in case of issuing it. But when we talk about the money bill, as we had just discussed, the money bill could only be introduced in the Lok Sabha and could not be introduced in the Rajya Sabha. Okay. Second thing is that it can be introduced either by the minister or by a private member. Okay. It is even having the liberty in case of the mover. Okay. And if we talk about the money bill, then we had seen that it can only be introduced by the minister, or to be more specific, only by the finance minister. All right. Thereafter, if we talk about the ordinary bill, so basically it is introduced without the recommendation of the president. It means that the prior recommendation of the president is not required in the cases of ordinary bill, which is absent in the cases of money bill. Why? Because it can be introduced only on the recommendation of the president. Until or unless the president does not grant his permission, the money bill could not be introduced in the Lok Sabha. Okay, the president's prior recommendation is necessary. Thereafter, in the case of ordinary bill, so basically this bill could be amended or rejected by the Rajya Sabha because there are equal powers to both houses. Okay, but if we take the case of money bill, so first of all, it could only be introduced by the Lok Sabha. So basically, the originated house would be ultimately declared as an Lok Sabha. Okay, because here the bill is introduced or originated. Okay, so remember, in the case of money bill, it cannot be amended or rejected by the Rajya Sabha. Okay, and the Rajya Sabha should return the bill with or without recommendations, which may be accepted or rejected by the Lok Sabha, because we had discussed that in the money bill, both the houses do not enjoy the same power as the case of the ordinary bill, because in the money bills, the Lok Sabha having the more powers. This is the first thing. Okay. Secondly, the rejected or amending powers of the Rajya Sabha only confined towards the suggestions or proposals. Okay, what does it mean? It means that the Rajya Sabha could only suggested and propose some things to be changed. They could not change it by their own. Okay, their powers are restricted in this regard. All right, and thereafter, the Rajya Sabha is required to return the bill with or without the recommendations. Okay, with or without the recommendations, and it's totally depend on the Lok Sabha whether to accepted the recommendations or rejected the recommendations. Okay, which means the Lok Sabha is not bound to accept it or rejected it. Okay, and this makes it's the discretionary powers. Okay, of the Lok Sabha. All right. After this, next thing that we can see here is that if we talk about the ordinary bill, so we had discussed that there are certain conditions in the ordinary bills, or you can say the certain powers granted to the Lok Sabha. They are three. Sorry, granted to the Rajya Sabha. These are three. Like first is Rajya Sabha may grant passing. Okay. Second, Rajya Sabha may reject or amend the bill. Okay. And third is Rajya Sabha may withhold the bill for 6 months. Okay. So any of these three cases, the Rajya Sabha could exercise the power. Okay. Whether they could grant it as in passing, whether they may reject or amend the bill, whether they would withhold the bill for 6 months. Okay. But in the case of the money bill, this power is not granted to it. Like the same power which has been granted to the Rajya Sabha, it can be detained by the Rajya Sabha for a maximum period of 6 months. This is not applicable in the cases of money bill because the Rajya Sabha could not hold the money bill without taking any action for period exceeding the 14 days. It means only up to the 14 days the Rajya Sabha could hold the money bill. Okay. And if the Rajya Sabha fails to take any action, fails to pass it, or you can say suggested some provisions to be changed, the bill would be deemed have been passed by the House. Okay. Thereafter, if we talk about the ordinary bill, so it does not require the certification of the speaker when transmitted to the Rajya Sabha. Okay, if it has originated in the Lok Sabha. All right, but we know that it's required the certification of speaker when transmitted to the Rajya Sabha. Why? Because it is the responsibility of the presiding officer to authenticate the bill as in money bill. And even when we were discussing about the money bill, the thing that we had discussed here is that this is the decision of the presiding officer of the House. If the presiding officer declares the particular bill is the money bill, then only the bill would be regarded as a money bill. If the speaker and if the presiding officer says the bill is not the money bill, the bill could not be declared as a money bill. And whatsoever the decision would be taken by the presiding officer, that would be the final one. It means no appeal in the court, no appeal for voting in the parliament, and no addressal by the president would be made against the decision of the presiding officer. So keep this thing in your mind. Thereafter, seventh thing is that it is sent for the president assents only after being approved by both the houses. Okay, like we had seen, there are 5 stages in the cases of ordinary bill. First stage, second stage, third stage, fourth stage, fifth stage. Okay. If we talk about the first stage, this is the introductory stage. Okay. Titles and objectives are being introduced by the mover. At second stage, this is the examination stage. Okay. A particular committee will examine or scrutinize the provisions of the bill, and even they could change the provisions without changing basic principles. Okay. Remember, the basic principles of the bill could not be changed. Okay. At third stage, it is the voting stage. The bill, after debate, would put for the voting, and if the bill passed the voting of the House, then comes the fourth stage. It means bill in other House, where again the introduction would be done, the examination would be done, the voting would be done, and if the bill successfully passed through the fourth stage, then it will go to the president for his assent. Okay. So if you compare this, so what you will see that both houses passing is required. Without pass from both houses, the bill could not go for the president assent. Okay. This is the case of ordinary bill. And in case of a deadlock, what does it mean? It means that suppose the another house suggest the you can say the make some amendments, and the first house where the bill was originated rejects the amendments. That would be a deadlock. If the second house keeps the bill for more than 6 months, that would be a deadlock. And if the second house rejects the bill, that would be a deadlock. So, if any case of deadlock due to the disagreement between the two houses, what will happen? A joint sitting of both the houses can be summoned by the president to resolve the deadlock. And we know who presides over the joint sitting of two houses. Who presides over it? The presiding officer of Lok Sabha, who is the speaker. Okay, he will presides over the joint sitting of two houses. And as we had discussed that we had borrowed the provision from which constitution? From Australian Constitution. Okay, and if we talk about the same case in the reference of money bill, so basically it is sent for the president assent even if it is approved by only Lok Sabha. Okay, it means that the Rajya Sabha approval is not as much powerful as is the case of ordinary bill. Okay. So even if only the Lok Sabha approves the bill would be go for the president consent. There is no chance of any disagreement between the two houses, and hence there is no provision of joint sitting of both the houses in this regard. Okay. Thereafter, if we talk about the ordinary bill, so its defeat in the Lok Sabha may lead to the resignation of the government if it's introduced by the minister. So basically, if we talk about it in a detailed form, so what we had seen that basically in India there is a majority rule. Okay. All right. So if in a case a minister who belongs to the Council of Ministers, they propose certain bill. Okay. So the bill will ultimately regarding as a government bill, right? The bill will automatically declared as a government bill. The first case is there. All right. And if the bill does not pass, what does it mean? It means that majority is not showing confidence in government policies, right? It means the sitting party has lost their majority in the house. So that's why if any opposition party propose the no confidence motion, okay, and if the no confidence motion passed in the house, what will happen? Ultimately, the sitting party, or you can say the ruling party, is required to resign from their office. All right. So if the ordinary bill presented by any minister who is a part of council of minister and gets failed, then there are chances that the government is required to be resigned. In the case of 8, the money bill, it is defeat in the Lok Sabha leads to the resignation of the government. Okay. It means that in case of the money bill, we know that the money bill could only be presented by the minister. So there is no condition like this. All right. And second, if it's failed in the Lok Sabha, it means the government has lost their majority. Okay. So in this case, this is the tentative. Maybe the government is required to resign or maybe not. But here it is clearly defined. Okay. It means if the money bills fails, the government is surely going to resign. There is no safeguards available for the government. Okay. After this, it can be rejected, approved, or written for reconsideration by the president. Okay. It means that the president may withhold his assent, the president would grant his assent, or the president made some changes and return the bill for the reconsideration. Okay. And if we talk about the 9th one, so basically the president could reject the bill or could approve the bill, but could not return it for the reconsideration. Why? Because the bill always gives after the prior recommendation of president. Okay. So that's why it is generally not, you can say, written for the reconsideration. All right. So students, basically in this lecture, we have finished till here. In the next lecture, we would continue from here. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture and be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture, and what we say thank you.